Let's see, was it properly posted?
Yes.
Right. We have an 18-point agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mine only says 17th. Maybe I have a.
It's an old, I.
Oh, do I have an old one?
Yeah, I amended it, taking out item number 6.
You took off,
GIS.
I
Oh,
have an 18, but
Which one did you take off?
The GIS contract has already been done. Oh, I have that. Number 6.
Yep, okay.
yeah.
All right, so we have a 17-point agenda. I apologize that I must have printed it off before it was amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
17-point agenda. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any other
I can't believe it.
discussion on the agenda? Yes.
All right, so former point number 6, the GIS contract for has been scratched
Correct.
Correct.
and replaced with this campaign.
It just, we took it out and moved
Right.
everything out.
You sent us an email.
Yeah, item number 7 is the camper.
Right.
Thing. Yep. All right, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Approval of the October 2nd, 2023 minutes. Does anyone have any? Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the meeting from minutes from the last meeting.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's are approved. That brings us to zoning petitions. Blakely petition.
This was tabled from the last meeting. The committee requested a survey. We don't have a copy of the current survey, and the lines look funky. Well, apparently the surveyor that's doing the new survey got a hold of the old survey and it is off. The surveyor set a monument marker because he couldn't find the old one, so he set where he thought it should be. It's 43 feet off. When they did the remonumentation, the surveyor that did that rejected that mark. And so the survey is off. It's gonna need a new CSM, but I have not received that yet.
Is someone here for, okay. Yeah, and I believe you can just speak from right there.
That's fine.
Yep, yeah.
Thank you for your time this evening. My name's Darby Blakely, and I guess my question to the board is why the initial denial was made on the rezoning? What were the?
Oh, it wasn't denied. It was just tabled because we wanted further information.
Okay,
Just to be clear, we didn't deny, we didn't take any actions.
Right, we didn't think it was exactly the way it should be for us to know that that was how.
What we were approving was what it was gonna say. Okay, so, sorry, continue.
right. I guess you guys have had the original survey that was done. There was one done in 2002. The parcel I'm talking about is the tax parcel number 01207141100. You guys have had the actual survey. There was one done in 2002 by Mr. Crook, Curtis Crook. That should be on file with you guys because it's been filed and dated 2 more times since the 2002 time. 2002 is because my grandfather passed away. 2007 it was redone and put into my father's name. And if you look at the parcel in question, the reason that the parcel is shaped like a shoe, it's misshaped, is because it was done with the driveway. I think the board, if I remember right, that your concerns were that it was going to landlock the other person. So that driveway and that ridge road or driveway has been in place since the start of time. And it's the reason that it's shaped as it is because the surveys that have been done were done with that in mind going around it. That's why there's a peak along with that driveway. The other person that owns that is my uncle, who's the closest thing I have to a father. He and I, there's no way I would ever landlock him. And if I would have done it long ago. And if it was ever sold, it has to be sold within our family anyway, based on the contracts we have for the land. My request is that the board would honor the original tax parcel number that's there. And by not honoring that, I'm going to be required to spend about $1,500 on a survey when the survey has been there the whole time. I think the confusion came from your original meeting on October 2nd, which I wasn't invited to. There was a mistake in the mailing. Was this picture was shown to you guys? I actually provided this, and I think that's where the confusion came from. Yep, you have it on your laptop.
Yeah.
This was simply given to the board, given to Cheryl and given to the board as simply you've got it too. This is just a homemade rough draft. As you can see, the black is what made you question, the black line that's up there. That obviously isn't accurate. That's because I made this homemade from my own computer and it was just a wonky triangle at the time. The red is what I did, and that's what the township of Forest honored. Was I explained to them, this is not that's not a survey, folks. This is just something I printed off and provided to the board as an extra piece that I used for the forest thing to just outline what I was gonna have surveyed. Obviously, if we look at that shoe shape thing, there's no way that any surveyor in their straight mind would have the bottom of that should go along the road all the way up, crossing way up into the valley like that. It was just a computer glitch, and most of these spot maps and things like that, if you don't know what you're doing, they're gonna be like that. So that's where the original, I'm guessing, is that where the original thought of, oh, this doesn't look right came from? From your October 2nd meeting?
At the time, we also didn't yet have, from the township.
Right.
Right.
Documentation that they approved it.
Yeah, it just looks like, according to the minutes, that we tabled it for a couple of reasons. One was because it looks like the driveway for the adjoining parcel goes through this parcel, and also that it had not gone and been approved by Forest Township.
So it had been approved by township before us.
We didn't have anything in writing.
And I actually, this is what's so frustrating, and I know it's not your guys' fault, and I've had conversation with Cheryl. I worked very closely with Mike Bindle before he disappeared for some reason, leaving me. I mean, I've got a loan for building and everything that's hitched to some of these parcels that I'm trying to go, and I'm pushed back now into the winter. It's fine, there's nothing anybody can do. I'm very frustrated. This information here was given to you by me as just a rough draft that I already provided to the Township of Forest. I asked Township of Forest to send you guys their board notes. Then I called Richland, I won't use Cheryl's name, I called Richland Zoning, and I said, I just want to make sure everything's in play. We have everything all set up for this board meeting so the zoning goes smoothly. Yep, we have everything we need. Okay, and then I said, I've got this crappy map that I made that you might want to use just so it shows the red highlighter. I'll give that to you too, but if there's any questions about that map or if it seems weird, don't utilize the black line. If there's any questions, please get back to me and I can clarify it. Then I wasn't invited to the October 2nd meeting, even though in the last probably 3 months, I've given my home address for repeated paperwork for the different permits and things I've been purchasing, and for this was an old tax Minneapolis address, so I wasn't even invited to the October 2nd, when I could have cleared most of this up. My point is, there's been a survey done, it's been part of our family for years. Why would there be this weird shoe shape instead of a square? Because they went around they used that driveway as the contours for making the actual ugly looking parcel there. But I'm asking for you guys to honor that. I just need to have that switched into my name so we can have and then I'll do the surveying for the bottom, but by honoring that original survey, I will be able to save about $1,500 in surveying costs. And it's not needed. If you guys wouldn't have seen this homemade picture that I sent is just extra information. And if I would have been invited to the meeting, you guys wouldn't have asked anything more about any surveys, anything else. Go ahead, ma'am, sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, this picture didn't throw us off. It was, the main point was that it seemed awkward and it had not gone through the township. And we didn't want to approve something that didn't seem right unless the township approved it first.
I don't know what, I actually called John Mathis the day after the meeting and said, did you email all of the notes of your board meeting? It's because I was on it. At the time, I was really pressed for time. Now it doesn't matter. But it's flabbergasting.
So it hasn't gone to the township. We never did this.
It did. It went to the township.
Did you get the stuff from the township?
I did not. I requested it again and they said they sent it to Mike and I said, Mike's no longer with our office. You need to send it to me and I still have not received it.
Weird. Another situation where this Mike Bindle thing has totally hosed me, but I won't get started with that. But I'm sure they sent it to Mike Bindle or whatever address they had, the township before us, but it was done months ahead of time, this other meeting where it was approved right there that night. And
So you have verbal confirmation that it's been approved?
there's verbal, but there's also paperwork that approves it. I think the meeting was done, it was done way before your October meeting, I think a month or two ahead of time.
Okay.
And then for some reason, it still had not reached.
All right.
You guys are saying it still has
Right.
not reached here?
Right.
Well, don't we have access to the email from Mike Bindle?
That's a good question.
I don't. Cheryl, you
I
get
do
those
not.
forwarded?
You're not.
And why, that should be done.
I've asked them to be forwarded.
Does this township of Forest have their meeting minutes online?
That's what I'm just looking.
That's what I'm looking up to.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it was the meeting minutes that were supposed to be recorded. The other frustrating part of this is the fact that I've called, I had a very passionate conversation with Cheryl because of my frustration with this. I appreciate everything that Cheryl's doing. I know that they're understaffed. I know that there's transition going on in Richland County. But the fact that those notes are still not in your hands when I called and said, like, I know you're saying they should send it to us, but at this stage of the game, we still don't have the notes when I've called repeatedly. I've actually stopped calling because I'm losing my temper so much. I don't get how it can be such a cumbersome process. This land has been like this forever. In 2002, 2007, my uncle has called as well. Can you confirm that too, that my uncle called and he
Yes.
said that he is not landlocked, that if we were landlocking
He called
anyone,
you?
if we
Okay.
were landlocking anyone, I would just I would move the driveway, or I would actually do a deed that lets him go through my property. It's never gonna be an issue.
Okay, I think we're ready to move to a decision here. So you confirm the minutes are there and it's in the minutes that it was approved. Okay, so the town has been approved. There's some kind of survey that, do we feel like we answered the question that we need to answer as far as the concern with the survey was that it was really just that picture that looked a little landlocked? I'm sorry, I wasn't at the meeting last month, so I'm also playing catch up.
So the Black Lines, there was no certified survey and Todd Rumler and I actually looked this morning for a plat survey and it's not been filed with the county, so,
But he says there's been multiple surveys.
Going back,
Yep, 2002, and I've got it right here, I've been working with Sean Walsh extensively with this. There was a survey done in 2002 by F. Curtis Crook, and that's the one that when my grandfather passed away, they.
Right, so do you have a 2002 survey in your records?
there's no survey.
I can get it to you. I
Okay.
can get it to you. We still have
Okay.
it in our.
I think that would be a good idea to have that in the records, because then we can alleviate
I
your
don't
son.
know, it's not in the records. I'm paying taxes on something. How are my taxes being determined if there's no actual line of communication? Like my 2002, there's one down in 2007. Where are these? Like I thought that would just be automatically pulled up.
Those
by
are
report.
deeds.
Those are deeds.
Not surveys.
Okay, sorry, and it's been deeded multiple times based on these surveys that were accepted. The names have changed. It changed from my grandpa to my dad passed away to my brother and I, and now I'm just
So-
trying to get this so I can, and the reason I'm only doing this is so when I build on this property, I don't have to have anything weird with taxes or permits. I can just, it's all fluid for Richland County. I could just be doing it behind you guys' back and just building and not doing it that way. I'm trying to do everything, and I've been making so many calls. This is just
Okay,
so frustrating.
does anyone else, do you have any questions? Are we satisfied that the questions that we had are answered?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
The town of Forest has their meeting minutes online.
Yes,
It's in the August.
administrator already told us
Okay.
that, yeah,
August 8th, that's the date, yeah.
yeah.
And I attended that.
Thank you, Julie. All right, are there any other questions? Okay, so I think we have some questions to answer internally as far as communications, and we will work on that. I assure you that we will I will talk with Administrator Pesh and we'll try to figure out a way to make sure that we don't have any lost communications in this transition that we're going through. We realize that it's been a problem and obviously we need to do some more work. So we will work on that. All right, so would someone like to make a motion? All right, motion by Fleming to approve. Second. Any further discussion?
Get those surveys in our records if we don't have it.
Yes. If you can provide those, do you have copies that we could make today?
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry, I can bring all that in, and I'm still gonna have to survey the bottom parcel as well, so. I'll get all that taken care of and get it over to Richland County as soon as it's done. I'll be working with
Okay.
Sean Walsh on that.
Who should he email that to?
Cheryl.
Okay, do you have an email address for sure?
I do.
Okay, will you go ahead and email those?
Sure.
Everything you have. Okay, thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you have your approval.
So just for clarification, this means that my name on that parcel will just be my name now. And my brother's name is taken off, and then I just need to get the survey done for the bottom part.
Right, I'm looking at the application here just to make sure that that's.
This is just for the rezone, so we'll still need a legal description to go to county board for the rezone. And then you'll have to do the deed transfer, whether your attorney does it or a
Okay.
title company.
Okay, so
I'll need a legal description for county board for the rezone.
of the bottom part that I'm rezoning, because the top part was just approved, that's gonna stay the same, correct?
I've got to get a copy of that plan of survey and then we'll mark it out and see what top number says.
Okay, so you're gonna get,
Surveyor,
yep, with,
Todd Bruns.
okay, so you're gonna make sure that the top part is taken care of, Cheryl, and I'm gonna make sure that the bottom part is taken care of. Is that all, what we're agreeing to here?
And this does still go to the full board, right? I mean,
Yes.
It does, it has to go to the board.
Oh, so there's another board meeting.
Yes.
You don't have to be at that one.
Okay.
Yeah, because that will be December, is it 12th? December 12th.
December 12th, dang, okay, that sounds good. I'll move forward then with the bottom part and
Yes.
go from, thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to the Lentz, Meyer, and Demars. Is that how I'm Linsky? Feel like that, yeah.
So there was several pages in there. We do have the certified survey, so out of the certified survey, which we have, I did mark out in pink the part that is the certified survey and the rest will be rezoned then to ag res.
Okay, because this was one where there was some questions as well, correct?
We didn't have, I think the certified survey to show what they were keeping and what was being.
Where it was being split was the question I read from the minutes, right? Okay, and so now that red that you've indicated on that map is indicating exactly what they want to
If
do.
it
Okay,
looks red to you, yes, it's pink to me.
all right. So would someone like to make a motion? Motion by Fleming. Have a second? Would you like to second?
Sure, I'm sorry, I was just still listening.
We're still gonna have discussion, so
Okay.
let's just get it on the
Sorry,
table.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, second by Dentis. All right, so any questions on this? Now, so my understanding is the last time we had a question about where the split was going to be, and now we have that in our. Yes, Mr. Carroll.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand how many acres the split off parcel is?
That's going to be 5.21 with the road right of way, 5 without it.
Okay, thanks. Oh, I see it, got it.
Yeah.
Which one is Highway 14? Is that angular road?
No, that the angular roads probably, so you've got B and BA in there, I think.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
okay.
No, that's 14. The
Oh,
one
yes.
This is Highway 14.
If that's
This
the
is
map
Twin
you're
Bluffs.
looking at, yeah. I guess I don't know.
That angular is 14, isn't it? Okay, that's what I thought because of the Barnhards. Okay.
Any other questions? Are we still contemplating, or should I call the question? Steve? You're good? Okay. I just can't tell because everyone's very intently looking at all the
It's a lot of
information.
documents.
So it is, there's a ton of documents with this one, which I'm
Right.
not quite sure why we got all the deeds going back to the 80s and stuff
Right.
with this one.
Yeah, I can go, I think the reason Mike included them was because back when they bought it, it was rezoned to ag res.
Mhm.
Then I think they've got horses, and so then they went to ag forest, and now we're going back to ag
Ag
res.
res. Okay, so it's really just a history of the
Yeah.
property.
It's a history of the region.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, you have your approval. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the McCullough petition. You guys, all right.
So hopefully you can see everything in there. That's the outlot will be going to Hartong's, and there's lots 1 and lots 2. Looks like I think the lot 2 is the part they want to rezone to put the mobile home on. The zoning district that allows a mobile home is residential 1 with a conditional use, so that's why we're going with an R.
Okay, and why does it matter how wide it is? Just because it's Or why is it noted that it's less than
That's
24
how
feet
it's
wide?
wrote in because most mobile homes, I suppose, you can get a manufactured home and everybody confuses those with mobile homes, which after I think it's 1987, anything that you think is a double wide are actually manufactured homes.
Not considered a mobile home.
Correct. They haven't been a mobile.
They don't have
home since
tires underneath
prior
or
to
whatever.
1987.
Well, they use
Okay.
no foundation.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Well, actually, why don't we get this one on the table? Entertain a motion.
I'll make them.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. So any questions on this one?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr.
I'm
Carroll.
trying to catch up here. Now, the trapezoid is where the trailer will be. What's going on with this little yellow marked in train?
Yellow mark. That is going, that Hartong's is
Harton's in McCall.
is to McCullough. Now, I think, are they trading properties or
Yes, ma'am.
selling?
Yes, sir.
Yep, so they're trading back and forth.
So it's not being rezoned?
No, because it will go with Hartong's land.
So it's just being sold?
Traded.
Well, it's being traded,
Okay.
yeah. Just the yellow part.
But
Yeah.
the trapezoid is the only thing that's being rezoned.
Yes, the
Okay, got it.
lots 1 and lots 2.
So lot 1 is where the trailer is going?
Lot
The
2.
manufactured home? Lot 2 is.
Lot 2. Lot 1 is where the house already is.
Okay, got it.
Mother-in-law, mother,
Dad.
dad, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? That little yellow triangle? Or the,
You look at this, yeah.
Still here.
I think it's so at the bottom. It's just kind of begin. Yeah,
Thanks.
right.
Got it.
let me know when you're
I'm good.
good? Okay. All right. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you have your approval. Thank you.
And this will go county boards and.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to the, is it Payne?
Yes.
All right. You got Richwood, right?
Okay.
You Richwood Township?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I met you there. Okay,
For conditional use to affect an accessory building.
Yes. And my apologies for my little guy here. He's sitting as still as he has.
He's learning
Fine.
government.
That's fine.
he's doing just fine, no worries. So we have a rule as to how many buildings can be
In a residential
full to this, because this is,
R1 or R2.
this is an R2, right?
Yeah, they can only have one accessory building and it can only be 70% of the floor space of the principal residence.
I wonder why that is. Is there some reason for that?
Because we've asked before my time.
I'm just curious why we have some of these rules.
Well, that's, but
I suppose not, so,
why we need to revisit our zoning.
but in
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the residential 1 and residential 2s, because the minimum lot size is 2 acres, you have to keep a spot for replacement septic.
right. I do know that, because we do talk about that every single time we allow these tiny little lots.
So when you get up to the 5 acres, there is a little more room to work with for replacement septic, but
Right.
not on a 2 acre.
So
lot.
do you have any concerns if your septic were to fail that you'd have another spot to put it if you put this building?
I don't think that's an issue. I mean, right now, our lot is actually, between 4 and 5 acres. I don't remember the exact size.
I think it's-
And,
4.1.
yeah, so just over 4. Hey, you could be quiet a minute. Okay. And, the placement of the house is basically on
Yeah, we
the
can see.
far one end of the property as far as east-west direction.
Yeah,
The placement of the building is on the far
right.
side.
You still have all those woods, that wooded area over there where you can put.
Right, so, even in, at that, if it was something to where it would have to do something different with the septic, why it would be trying to go uphill to go to where the building is, so to speak, things like that, so.
I mean, it looks like there's plenty of space based on this aerial that we're looking at.
Is this the house that was in the top tour of homes?
Several years ago.
Not that I know of. We've been told that it could be since we remodeled it, but,
Okay, no, it just looked like it this time.
All right, did we get a motion? No, we don't have,
Yes, we did.
we did?
No?
No, not for this one.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I
I'll
was,
make a motion.
thank you. Motion by Fleming, do I have a second? Second by Carol, all right, any questions?
no, don't push those buttons. Um, I guess, the only question I have is I was under the understanding there's a fee for the conditional use permit or something, or was it just, what's
You already
that?
paid the conditional use permit. I don't have the land use attached. So this doesn't have to go to county board. We can issue the permit right after this meeting. I don't know how you want.
Okay.
Stay around, otherwise tomorrow.
Okay,
I can look then and see if you paid the permit fee for that building.
yeah, I know I paid to, the fee to get into the board or something, but I was under the understanding there's another fee for the actual permit. And then that was the other question, is how soon that would be available.
Give me a call tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, we'll be ready tomorrow.
Okay, all right, so any other questions by the committee? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you have your approval and you can get in touch with Cheryl and she'll take care of the rest.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to discussion and possible action on wording of temporary for campus in an ag res district.
Okay, so I contacted several surrounding counties. Nobody has this wording. In fact, several surrounding counties have very little zoning. This I think came from Columbia County. I got this from Mike Ryder. He liked their wording. So that's where I got it from. He said it's 6 months on, 6 months off. And then he said, and if you have them just come in and get a new permit every year, don't have to pay. So that's a good way to track it.
Okay, so my first question is why do we care? I need to understand why we care. If people park their camper and they want to stay in it, live in it, whatever they want. So I need to understand what would we be concerned about? So I'm assuming sanitary is like making sure that they can take it and dump we have a dump station in Richland Center, but is that like, what is the reasoning behind this rule?
So my guess is, this has been language in here for a long time that, back when they didn't have the nice campers like they do now, they were just worried about the ratty campers that still stay sitting in the hills and zone townships care about
But we have
that.
junk people have junk tractors and junk,
How'd this come up? How'd this get on our agenda?
because we have someone living in a camper who it was difficult to interpret our current language,
Yeah.
the word temporary. What does that mean, temporary? It was not well defined. So my first question is why do we care? I mean, if I want to, so do you think it's aesthetics?
I'm guessing it is, and that the townships that worry about the looks of their township here, maybe we need to consider possibly a date. So now, when campers are built in their manufacturing facility, they have to meet the UDC code before they come up. So that's why, once they hit the road, the UDC inspector doesn't worry about that. And I'm not sure when that went into effect, but I'm gonna guess probably the early 2000s. Prior to that, they didn't have to meet code. And so I think the thing is the campers sitting around that are.
Okay.
My question.
We'll go to Linda first.
I like your question. So, I forgot the name of the camping site on 14, the airport there, DJ or something, the campground on 14.
Flying J.
Flying J. So are there RVs that are there year round? And is that what we're worried about? I mean, are we talking about just parking in the middle of a field? Is there a location that makes a difference is my question, I guess.
So a campground has its own permitting.
They do, but yet,
I mean, they certainly have year-round campers parked at those places.
they do, but I think if I recall reading that they have And it might be a state rule that they can only stay there 30 days in a row. Then I think they have to leave for like 7 or
But
so.
what about these ones that have permanent campers with decks built all around them and stuff? There's all sorts of campgrounds that have those. I think they probably have to require on-site sanitary,
They do
just
that,
like it goes directly into some sort of sanitary system.
they do that, or they have honey wagons.
Right. So, okay, does anyone else I mean, I guess, how do you feel about, do we want this language? Do we need this ordinance? Do we? Yes, Mr. Carroll.
Aside from the concerns about sanitation, this sounds like more of a aesthetics thing, and like you were just saying, oh, look at some of the rural properties with stuff that's been laying on the ground for who knows how long. I think.
I mean, I think if we're gonna go after campers, then we need to go after all the other stuff too.
Yeah, I question whether this is enforceable or even fair.
Well, it's enforceable. I mean,
Gray area before. That's where we're just trying to clean up the gray area, but
right.
So,
Are you done with your thought, or would you like to?
Well, I was just gonna say that couldn't this be covered by a township ordinance if some town?
If the township does care about their aesthetics, they could create, I mean, I think that if we're gonna start talking, that's our problem, then I think just, I don't know.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Turk.
there may
Sorry.
be other factors to consider as well. I'm an RV owner. RVs are nice, but they are not designed to be lived in full time. Some people do it anyway, but that's not what they're built for. And tell you that I think it was 3 years ago at the campground we frequent, one of the campers caught fire while somebody was gone and burned. They burn very quickly, so it may be safety concerns. There may be multiple different reasons where you don't want to necessarily encourage folks living in an RV, and it says in the ordinance here, licensed and road ready RV, as opposed to like a mobile home that is designed for permanent living.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah, I mean, I feel like if people wanna live in.
The point I was just trying to make is there may be other reasons just. than
Right,
aesthetics.
right. No, that you bring up a good point. Go ahead, Ms.
well, it's been quite a few years since I was on the comprehensive plan for Buena Vista, but I remember, because I went to all the township meetings, they were very concerned about a couple campers that were just sitting out in fields, and they didn't know quite what to do, and they were having a big problem with that. I don't remember exactly why. So I was wondering, I know it's a lot of work, but if we need to talk to some of the town chairs and find out if they're looking for help, because it is true, isn't it? If they zone, they have a stronger zoning than we do, right?
Well, we only have, how many townships that is on Ithaca and Roxbridge?
we have two that are not.
Yeah, only two, they're not, some aren't zoned, but I meant some of the zoning ones. I don't know, just because then we're thinking about it,
Right.
because I don't know everything.
So. I do find it interesting that your comment that our surrounding counties don't have language about campers and living in campers. If people want to live in campers in Vernon County or Crawford County, they can, well, Crawford County's not zoned, right?
And Vernon County's not.
Not zoned either.
And actually, Sauk County only has 2 townships that are zoned, and I was surprised at that.
Me too.
So people can live in campers in all of these surrounding counties.
Well, Honey Creek is zoned. So,
Oh, they had 2,
Anyway,
2 or 3.
Anyway,
can I ask another question?
yes.
Do we have a rule for, like, I think that was a big problem at Viola. It wasn't the camper, but someone was camping at Viola.
It was the location. They were camping at the park. That's
Yeah.
completely different than what we're talking
Okay,
about. This
that's
is
what
on
I'm
people's
asking.
own
How is
property.
that different?
This is someone having a camper on their own property and wanting
We
to
don't
live
know
in
if
it.
it's their own property or they brought it out to somebody's property.
Well, in the case that brought this to our attention, they were on their own property, living
Because not
in
all
it.
of these are on their own property.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, sometimes they come out in their friend's property or something like that.
I suppose that, but it would still be the responsibility of the landowner.
And I think
Would
you
it
can
be?
do that for 14 consecutive days out in an ag residential.
Well, it can be parked with no permit.
Yes, right.
Yes, Mr. Carroll.
I think like one key differentiator is whether you're someone's living in it or just parking. Maybe the wording could be distinguish between those? So
I mean, it can be whatever we want.
Well,
Go ahead.
there's storage, some people just.
We have one parked in our driveway.
Yeah,
It's parked there all year round unless we take it camping,
yeah.
but we don't live in it. It's just parked there. So am I supposed to have a parking permit?
No, but you're probably ag forest and then no.
Oh,
They
okay.
can be parked there and they can be parked in a residential 1 or residential 2. I think the ordinance says that they have to be out of sight from the general public
So
In an
there's-
ag res or in a residential?
in a residential.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
yes.
So there is an ordinance for people not living in a camper and having it on their property.
Yes, in
Because
a residential 2. And
Okay.
one and
Because in my district, there is some campers that are very close to an intersection, basically blocking view and have had almost a couple of accidents there. So what you're saying is those would be violating the ordinance.
We also have had a complaint in Henrietta Township where there's one lot where a building burned down. There's 3 campers there and they may be breeding dogs. That's,
In the campers? Ew.
and they're living in it. And
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The other thing that I think you have to think about are MetLabs.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, if you don't have to have a permit, if you just have a camper out in the middle of nowhere, I mean, it has happened.
But that would be ag forestry, ag residential, well, ag
this is an
residential.
ag-res district, not ag forestry. This is ag-res.
And-
Ag forestry, you supposedly can have it there all year round.
Well, wait, mine's parked in my driveway, so I'm assuming where my house is zoned ag res.
Probably ag forest.
Oh, you think so?
You're probably assessed at a residential, but your zoning is ag forest.
Okay. So I guess I would like to know, one, so this language is language that is in it. I find this language just as confusing as what we had before. Not more than 180 days, as long as a parking permit has been issued. And they are removed between October 31st and May 1st, as long as the parking permit has been issued, with the exception of any camper that will be parked for no permit for 14 days. I mean, yikes.
I think we got too many parking permits in there.
This is not our ordinance, correct? Or
This is.
our current ordinance.
Yeah, I think I got too many parking permits in there.
It could be worded.
So if we think we need to regulate this, or we want to continue to regulate this, because we're already regulating it in our ordinance. This is us trying to make our language clearer. Not sure we succeeded.
Yeah, I'm thinking take out that, the
It's this-
second, right after May 1st, take out the second, as long as parking permit has been issued by the zoning administrator.
Okay, so it would read,
Yeah.
campers that are licensed and road ready and used for temporary parking and living purposes. I don't understand the used for temporary parking statement. Road ready and used for temporary parking and living purposes. So what's the
We should take-
temporary parking got to do with?
That's what's in there, so maybe we should take temporary living purposes, take the parking out.
Yeah, okay, so campers that are licensed and road ready and used for living purposes for not more than 180 days. But it has to be something like campers that are licensed and road ready and used for living purposes, may be used for living purposes for not more than 180 days, as long as a parking permit has been issued by the zoning administrator.
Period.
And they are removed, but wait, so why do we care if it's removed? I mean, okay, I think there's two issues we're talking about. Do we want to let people live in them? And if so, do we want to manipulate, or do we want to say how long they're allowed to do that? And two is, do we want to regulate where and when and how long they can park their camper someplace? That's the two, is that
That's what I said.
two questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, do we want to do both of those things?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the October 31st to May 1st either. I mean.
Like, what are they supposed to do with their camper? Oh, so if it's a residential district, they're supposed to store it somewhere. So like if you live in a city of Madison, you can't store your camper, you gotta store it somewhere. So that's what we're saying. You would put it in storage somewhere. Mr. Carey.
Can I ask, Do we have any records, any parking permits currently?
Yes.
We do.
Yes. I know one since I've been here and it's on, Bashford Hill, the double lanes, along through there.
They're living in it?
No, they have a parking permit and they stay just during hunting
So in the
season
county, we have one parking permit.
that I'm aware of.
Well, and we have another that does not currently have a parking permit that's
Correct.
supposed to have one.
And they're living in.
But they're questioning this word, the wording of our thing, because they don't understand what the temporary part means. Correct? Am I summarizing that correctly?
I believe so.
Well, the temporary part would be the 180 days and less, 6 months. That's considered
Well-
temporary. It's not full-time, it would be the whole entire year.
But we had these dates in here too, and then there was the 14 consecutive days.
I'm wondering if the dates are simply because of the dangers of like carbon monoxide, if people stay in them in the winter.
But at what point do people have to take responsibility for their own
I
safety?
agree. I agree.
You know, I get a little,
That would,
yeah,
And or fire because of
right.
having heaters in there.
but again.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
think I also remember one lady that had a horse and she had her trailer on the horse and then she had her flowage into the creek.
Well, obviously
Right.
sanitation
That was-
that has to be dealt with appropriately.
That
If you're living in it, you have to be taking it and dumping it or having a honey wagon come and empty it responsibly. We can't have that dumping on the ground. That's a totally separate issue. That was one of the things I thought we might want to have wording about. If anything, I would say that they can have it there, but then they absolutely have to have a documented plan and documentation of emptying, proof of emptying it on a regular basis, making sure that even gray water is not being dumped on the ground, you know, all of those things. To me, that's more of an issue than if they want to live there in the winter, I mean, good luck. It'll freeze up as soon as it gets cold, but again, that's their problem. I don't know. So, I mean, I feel like we need to do something relatively soon because we do have this issue.
What is the issue? I didn't see it.
We have someone who has been living in their camper in the county.
And it's not being sanitarily taken care of, so I understand.
They're using the sanitary disposal as a bucket.
You're using a bucket.
So,
And the township came to us.
No. It was reported to me that somebody's living in their camper.
is this off? Can we be talking about this specifically
No.
on this agenda item?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's more the I think a lot of it's the sanitation thing, more than them living in it. But that's fine,
Yeah.
like we fixed.
I think we need another stab at this.
But I think they're almost to the point that they're gonna be removing it anyway, actually December 1st, so they're gonna be removing it in 3.5, 4 weeks anyway. I don't think it's anything we're gonna settle in the next 4 weeks.
I mean, if that particular issue does not need an immediate resolution, I'd rather it takes a little bit of time and actually kind of really, and maybe have Mr. Wendell present for a conversation about what are we protecting ourselves? Like, part of this ordinance, I'm assuming we usually have these ordinances so that we can either, protect the well-being of people or other people, like sanitation issues, or whatever. But it might be good to have a bigger conversation about it and try and determine exactly what we're trying to regulate here. So we will not take any action today? At this point, do you think that,
I would agree, because I don't feel like I would know how to
what do you think?
do
I
that.
just have it on a future agenda item too. Obviously, it does need to be clarified.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, we're having an issue right now with the
And if we need to have
language.
something for sanitation purposes, that makes sense to do it when we're making changes, but just so we have it for future issues.
Does that seem okay, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I, like I said, they should be getting it off by December 1st anyway.
Because that language, they agree with, that language is pretty clear.
They acknowledged that they read it and they would abide by it.
Okay. All right.
They don't. Of course, after that, They still don't have their sanitary taken care of and they haven't moved out by December 1st. But
Okay. All right, so we'll talk about this at the next meeting. Does that seem? Keep moving on it and not let it sit too long, especially have it figured out before spring when people would probably start wanting to live in their campers again. Okay. All right, so that brings us to estimate possible action on compensation of assistant zoning administrator sanitarian due to increased duties. So I guess I'll start with this one. So obviously Cheryl has been doing extra duties since she's the only person in the office. So we've had conversations about what kind of additional compensation that should be. And so I think, and it's already on the agenda, but I think that we need it to just be talked about at finance to see exactly how we will figure out compensation for any position, you know, as if we have someone leave and someone takes on extra duties. I mean, I think they should be compensated, but the question is with administrative pressures, how do we want to make sure we do that fairly and equitably and that we have a policy for everyone in the county so that anytime we have a situation like this come up where a person is filling in, taking on.
Is there a current policy at all?
My understanding is no. Yeah.
And to be truthful about it, you know, there is some of an opening up a can of worms, because then anything that anyone says that they're doing that is not in their job description, rather than the other duties as assigned, then are we opening up to people saying, well, I'm doing this and it's not in my job description, I want more pay. So again, it's something that has to be very thoughtfully done and very appropriate.
I mean, it can be tied to vacancies when you're filling in for a vacant
So-
position until it's filled or things
Right.
like that.
So-
Because most of the job descriptions would have at the very bottom, usually it says, and other duties assigned by department head, or
It does.
however it's worded.
Yes.
And so I agree, it's gotta be contingent on a vacancy.
When there was a union, then it was, that did happen.
Right, but we're not union.
No, I said, but when there was.
Yep. And there's a big difference in those sorts of things,
Right.
but,
No.
but no, I mean, I just think it is not something we can do lightly, and we need to have a good, solid policy that doesn't create more issues for us rather than solve the ones we have.
Right, because now with Darren, we also have, we have other positions that are going to be in the same
We do.
predicament.
Yep.
So we'll go, so, and I looked at the agenda and I believe it's on tomorrow's agenda, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we will, yes. I mean, it's already already on their agenda, so it's already been forwarded. Okay, so that brings us to office system. Why can't I talk today? Office system tech position discussion and possible action. So,
Update, we have 5 applicants thus far. So, yeah, that's promising. That's really the only update. We don't need any action. It's just an update as to where things are at and that it's looking good.
that's nice. It's refreshing to actually get some applicants.
Well, highway right now has 21 for their open office job.
Say again?
So apparently that's the kind of jobs people are looking for is, I suppose, 9 to 5,
I don't know,
Monday through Friday,
pretty
no
pretty
weekends.
exciting. Most of the openings we have right now are getting multiple applicants, which is great.
Other than jail dispatch.
Other than
And you know what I mean, women who are in the jail. All right, so that brings us to Land Conservation Zoning Department reorganization, discussion, and possible action.
Yeah.
So. So we, obviously, our zoning department and our land conservation departments are, you know, in a big change. We got people leaving, you know, so I think this is and we've been talking about this since the reorganization of our committee of how do we want to move forward as far as the department itself. So I know Administrator Pesh, you had talked about looking at how other counties do it. I have a lot of information on how other counties have done some of that, and I've talked to a couple. So Columbia County just recently went through, like 3 years ago, went through a change where they were 2 separate, and then they merged. The department head essentially took over for both. So I can forward that to you, or would you like me to continue to gather more of that information, or what?
You can forward it on to me. I have spoken with a few counties as well and gotten their organization charts. The difference is we're so small.
Mhm.
We don't have the staffing pattern that a lot of the other counties have, which is unfortunate. But that doesn't mean we cannot do something and make some changes. So
Yeah, because like the land information,
We should make some decisions on this.
I think so. Yeah, I do think that, that it's appropriate because part of this, what the strategic plan instructed us to look at how we
Yes.
can or may, combine the departments. So, I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Well, the first thing that as soon as I started looking at how other ones do it is there's 72 counties and there's probably 55 different ways that people do this. So some people have the land information office as a separate entity. Some people have it within zoning. A lot of times there's zoning and planning. We don't have a planning department. And a lot of times there's a lot of counties where land and zoning are a combined department, but they really have, so you might have a director, but then you'll still have, a zoning administrator who really is that their niche is really knowing and overseeing the people who are zoning. And then you'll have, the land conservation people who are, their expertise is over here. But there is a lot of overlap. And one of the main upside I've heard from all of the counties who have combined is that land use and conservation are very, very heavily intertwined. And so especially I think us having a combined committee has actually been a good thing. Like I feel like we've had some really good conversations. It makes meetings a little bit longer than we probably would like, but whatever, we're having good conversations. So I think we do need to decide, I think the things that will have to be decided is, what will the hierarchy of, if we do a combined department, what will the hierarchy look like? Who will be at the top and how will the flow work? Should it be a land conservationist as the head person, or should it be a zoning administrator? And it goes either way. Some counties have the land conservationist as the director, and then there's the zoning people and the land conservation people underneath them, and some people it's vice versa. So,
for some, it's one person that is the head of both as well.
right.
Land
So if
conservation
they
and
have
zoning, which is-
experience, I would think that would be pretty rare. I can't
it's-
think of.
it's very, yeah. It's
Do you know
more
any
rare
land
than there
cons who are zoning administrators?
Like Grant and Lafayette and Crawford. I'm not sure about Vernon, but
Well, they don't have zoning.
they
They have minimal.
Grant and Lafayette have zoning, but it's very small.
It's wetlands and.
No, they have they have some county zoning, but have adopted county zoning.
Mm.
So it's very,
Yeah, so I mean, I have seen it, it's one of those things, but I'm not saying I think it's a good or a bad idea, I don't know enough about it yet to.
So what kind of information committee do you think you would, in order to make a decision as what you think would be the best way to reorganize? What kind of information do you think would be helpful? Obviously knowing what other counties are doing and the different kinds of setups would be a big thing, but anything else?
I thought one of the things to make sure that we're clear, what are all the certificates that need to be done for both?
Like what's the background in education?
Yeah, and what's
Requirements?
What do we need for
Okay.
both, lands and zoning? What are all those so that we know how we could write job descriptions or whatever that would fit and work?
We have job descriptions already.
No, I mean, we might be changing those, that's what I meant.
So are you
Reorganizing.
Are you asking, like for Kathy's job, what do we ask for in education and training if we were gonna hire a new?
Yeah, or what does she have to be certified, like when, right now, we're lucky that Cheryl's certified.
It's just for POUTS,
So it
yeah.
has the other certifications all across the board so that we know what they would be and how they could be combined.
Okay. Anything else you think would be helpful in making some kind of determination?
Asking the staff what their suggestions would be.
Oh, of course, that would be integral in the whole thing. For sure.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
in addition to learning how these other counties are organized, ask them how it's going.
That's one of the discussions I have had is what's going well, what isn't going well.
In a combined department?
Because I think that is important, and a lot of times when they have restructured, if something isn't going well and they've had to make changes or adjustments, or they'll say, if we had to do it again, we'd probably do it this way. So,
Yeah, because there's at least 4 counties that I can think of that have recently, like within the last 3 or 4 years, have combined their departments. So they've gone through it. So those would be the best ones to tap into. And I mean, I think part of the conversation also has to be our GIS. I think we should talk about whether we should integrate a position, internal position in that, in our GIS work. So I think there's a lot to discuss in that, so. Anything else you think would be helpful? Because I think we need to make a decision. It would be good to make a decision sooner rather than later, because right now we just have an open, we don't know, until we make some kind of decision. I'm assuming we're not opening up Mike's position until we have this conversation
until I have direction
as to what we want to do.
I know
Go ahead, it's fine.
I know we're not meeting, I know we're meeting early.
Yeah, right
and
before
I'm
Thanksgiving.
not sure if I may have a comment, but this seems very important to me. And I don't know how important our input is on it, but I think we should be, because that's what a committee is for. I wonder if we should have a special meeting for a discussion on this so that we can,
Maybe in December?
yeah, somehow work it out and learn more and hear from the staff and talk to them and really get down rather than just be a part of this agenda, because to me, this is a major situation.
It would be a big change. Although you guys are you're already functionally, you're already helping and you're helping, you're already
Oh, yeah.
working together incredibly well.
I think having the office tech will help, at least.
It would even more cement that
Well,
relationship.
I sit in my office and her phone rings and she's with somebody or she's on the phone with somebody and the phone rings again and there's no way we can answer it. Or it would be, we try to help when somebody comes in and she's gone, but we don't know enough about exactly what needs to be done, but at least if we, there's some.
That's a good question too. Is there going to be in these other departments, do they cross train? Do the zoning staff learn some land conservation and land conservation learn some zoning so that at least.
Like what I said, I think we get this office tech, it'll not relieve everything, but maybe take. Especially if she's off where she's sick, there's nobody.
Still got a lot of vacation.
other questions that I have too are, you guys are 35 hours a week, Cheryl's 40-hour-a-week job. So, are we wanting to have 35 hours or 40 hours? And if we're.
Why? I still don't understand. I know why you're 35, but you should.
So I think that's part of this discussion going forward, as well as what do we want the functionality and the hours of the department to look like?
Right, okay. Mr. Cow?
Can I find out where all of our county job descriptions are on the iPad?
I don't think we have job descriptions anywhere on the iPad, as far as I know.
Yeah, maybe not.
I feel like I should read the job descriptions as more background for me to understand what we're already asking people to do.
I can get everyone those job descriptions.
Since we can't access anything on our iPads anymore?
I can email to all of them.
Okay.
Permanently?
For a month.
Oh,
I can email those because there are only 3 or 4, so it's not like there's too many.
Well, we have the office tech one. That's the one we're hiring for now. We have the office tech position description because that's the one we've been talking about.
And we have the conservation technicians one, we got that, and it's kind of split, it's the technical one and the agronomy one.
Yeah.
So that one's been done already.
Just all the ones that potentially could be in this.
In this combined department. Yeah. Okay. Job descriptions, education training. All right, so, well, we can talk about a meeting date when we get to the meeting. There's a future meeting dates item on the agenda, so we'll. All right, actually, that's the next item, 2024 meeting schedule.
So Cheryl and I talked about it, I had her figure out when for different Board of Adjustments is and the county board and when she has to have so this is what they came up. Last year we did this and it seemed to help a lot. Didn't have to each month, the months that are the date fell on a holiday. So,
Just to note, starting in April though, they'll be the third Monday. So you've got on your third Tuesday.
Right.
It's only gonna be one day off, but
Right.
Well, and potentially there, with the potential reorganization of committees and some other things that is going to be discussed going forward
Reorganizing committees?
a little bit.
Is this committee changing?
There might be an addition of extension potentially.
Okay, who's making those decisions?
Those are all gonna come in front of the Rules and Strategic Planning Committee.
Yeah, I didn't meet this month, sorry.
so I guess the big thing for the zoning is the zoning has to meet, these zoning decisions have to be made 2 weeks before the
board meeting.
board meeting.
Right, that's why I just want to make sure you would know Mondays.
Why, when, oh, is the board meeting changed to a different
Yeah,
day?
yeah, in April, we voted that we changed.
In the rules,
But usually
it
it's,
says, yes, April, they will change to Monday.
Except for meetings, right,
but
our
with your
core meeting.
committee restructuring, usually that meeting will probably be all dedicated to board assignments. Would you have time?
No, what they're saying is we decided that we were changing it from the third Tuesday to the third Monday of every month.
Just, in every month?
Every month,
Yeah, starting with the new.
starting with the new board in
Oh.
April.
We did that because of the city.
Which that was-
So these are all the third month?
Except there's 3 times that it's not that way.
Was probably December.
I forgot what the other 2.
October for the budget, December, and then the organizational meeting
yeah.
in
Right.
April, I believe.
And when is?
Are the exceptions?
Are the 3 exceptions.
So when is April's done? I put third Monday, but you said you're all going to third Monday.
Well, that would be the,
I think we should probably talk, why don't you guys figure it out and we'll talk about it at the next meeting? Because these are all gonna change after that, all these dates will change. But this November is one of the times when, because the board meeting is early in December, we have to meet November 27th. Just make sure everyone, so that's the Monday after Thanksgiving, right?
This looks like November 25th.
Is it the 25th?
Oh, for the 2024 calendar.
Oh, right, no,
Oh, you are meeting the 27th.
in 2023. Okay. Oh, okay. So just bring that back on the next agenda so we can make sure we've got those dates all figured out with the change.
they really seem to help out. We didn't have to really go, oh, maybe, or maybe next.
No, it's always good to talk about the dates. Okay, that brings us to cost share contracts.
I have one, Manio Dairy, they're going to do, cover crops. We can spend up to half of ours, we have about
It's exciting.
$10,000, and they've got enough acres, so total, they have 99.87 acres. So it's $9,987.
Cover crops, that's exciting.
We have 2 more for the next,
Great. With cover crops or something else? Really? Oh,
but
that's
it's
exciting. I don't know if you guys understand how exciting cover crops are, because then when you take corn or soybeans off the field, then you've got covering that actually keeps the soil where it's supposed to be, so it doesn't wash away. It's very,
and we can spend up to half of our nutrient management money for that. They have to have a nutrient management plan to do this. The 3 people that we've got in line are all do the nutrient management plans, so.
awesome. All right, so you need a motion from us on this one?
Yes.
Correct? All right, would someone like to make the motion?
I'll know.
Mr. Carroll, second by Dentist. All right, any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Approval. That brings us to manure storage ordinance. So did you guys talk about that extensively at the last one?
Yeah, and Steve had brought up a question about, I changed the wording, in the definition.
Find it. Did you tell me where it was?
I gotta find it myself.
Well, I just read the whole thing, so what was it?
It was about the,
Size required.
Right.
And so I said, well, hey, I've got a dozen chickens, what exactly are we wanting to get a little more detail, so it's not a bunch of.
So,
I did change it to what the wording that, Iowa County has, which had the,
Where you at?
I gotta find it, I'm not remembering where I put it. Sorry, Oh, I should have marked it on here before or after I changed it. I am sorry, I thought I changed it.
It's a lot of work.
It means that, okay, nursery facility means one or more impoundments made by constructing an embankment, excavating pit or dugout, or fabricating a structure specifically for the purpose of temporarily storing manure-related waste.
Under definitions,
Yeah, number 9 on page 3.
What page are you on?
page 3 of the ordinance.
A facility includes sanitary equipment, piping, being able to load and unload. I took out the unconfined manure piles.
You took that out
Okay, no,
because it's in the one that we're looking at today. That's on
okay,
the-
you got it. All right, I thought I fixed this and put it in, changed it.
Because I had a question about the unconfined manure storage facility.
I thought I fixed that.
You were working on this because we have so many chicken ones, right? In the area?
Right,
Well, we needed to update it anyway.
Yeah, I know.
yeah, it was, yeah.
Are there chicken ones in our area already?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
we don't know what they're doing.
yeah.
yeah. So I thought I'd fix it and I gotta find where I don't, but apparently the one I have on your thing, I did not. It's the wrong one. I'm sorry. But I was taking out, basically it has to be, it's not like a pile sitting on the ground. It's has to be constructed.
So we're only regulating people who have something that they put the poop in. What if you have someone who's just dumping the chicken poop on the ground in a big pile?
Then,
That's as an example.
nothing happens to them unless it starts running off.
Then
Then
we
again,
should
our-
reword our ordinance.
Yes.
So,
Well, the thing is, okay, you don't want to regulate it, you do want to regulate it. So that's becomes,
right, so my question is, so I kind of liked, so the unconfined manure storage, so that's a pile on the ground. I liked it because it had a definition of how big it had to be before we care. So I think keeping that in actually addresses what the concern we have, because if it's less than 175 cubic feet in volume, then that's not enough, then it's little enough amount, like with 12 chickens
okay,
that
I
we
think
don't.
that's what I changed.
So you added that.
Yes, I think that could,
Which number did you?
there we go.
Yeah,
That was,
yeah.
I'm glad you
So
found
I
it, because I'm looking at that, I'm like,
No, I think that, so it's,
page 5.
it's on page 5, number 32.
Bless you.
So it reads, I'll just read it for the record here. It says, unconfined manure storage facility means a quantity of manure that is at least 175 cubic feet in volume and which covers the ground and surface to a depth of at least 2 inches and is not confined within a manure storage facility, livestock housing facility, or barnyard runoff control facility, or covered or contained in a manner that prevents stormwater access and direct runoff to the surface water or leaching of pollutants to groundwater.
So that, I think that's the definition I got from Iowa County.
So an unconfined does need a permit also.
If it's more than 175 cubic feet
That's what I'm saying.
of material.
And where does it say that?
It's number 32 on page 5.
Yeah. Sorry, I
I mean,
did.
where does it say that one needs a permit?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It doesn't say that. That was I did have that question.
I think it comes into play under, just under the, you got a page, under the performance standards,
What page?
but it'd be under 7, page 7. That's why the definition, there's no unconfined manures, should be, it's a stack here, but that's basically defines.
I think we need to get that language solidified somewhere. Wait, why don't we use it in this definition? You could say unconfined manure storage facility means a quantity, well, I guess we're calling that manure storage. We're just calling it unconfined. So by calling it a storage facility, once it reaches 175 cubic feet, it then is pulled into the umbrella of the ordinance.
Okay.
Does that, that's how I'm reading it. Does that make sense? Because we're saying unconfined manure storage facility means it's at least 175 cubic feet in volume and covers 2 inches, more than 2 inches of the ground. I think we have to change. So the next sentence says, and is not confined within a manure storage facility. I think we have to say within a confined manure storage facility, because we're saying this is an unconfined manure storage facility.
Right, because it is not confined with the manure storage facility.
Yeah, so it would read,
Well, no, what it's saying, if it's on the surface and it's not confined, that's where that's an
Yeah.
unconfined one. If we put confined,
well, but look, your sentence says 175 cubic feet in volume and which covers the ground and a surface to the depth of at least 2 inches and is not confined within a manure storage facility. Aren't we we're calling this we're calling this an unconfined manure storage facility. You know what? I'll talk about it later with you. You can,
On page 6, section 1-3, number 1 is the permit requirements. And it's talking about having a manure storage facility, but it says or closes as a manure storage facility. So to me, that's kind of unclear there. And then also you're talking about the uncontained. So
Suppose you could
if you're
say-
talking about the uncontained, by this definition, to me, it wouldn't require a permit. Unless I'm reading it incorrectly.
well, what we're saying, so what this is saying is we're defining an unconfined manure storage facility as a pile on the ground that
Right.
reaches 175.
or you can say an unconfined manure.
Right,
stack.
that's just the definition.
Right,
And there, this section tells which
Right.
ones the permits are required for.
Right,
It's not talking
that's not
about
on there.
unconfined.
Where
Yeah.
are you at?
It's on page 6.
right, but now that this is a manure storage facility, so it would be covered as a manure storage facility.
I think what it should say is not a manure storage. What I should say is unconfined manure stack is what it should say. Not storage.
But we're wanting to regulate it if it becomes 175 cubic feet in volume. We're wanting to be able to say that it has to meet the ordinance. Right? Isn't that?
I will check with some other counties. I don't think that is, I don't know. Let me check with other counties.
Well, why are we defining it? If it doesn't allow us to do anything about a pile that's
Well,
bigger
find
than
other counties, so
175.
I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
and
I've-
then you'll have to answer my questions then, yeah.
But I still have a question on that permit requirement. Because it says any person who constructs, substantially alters, changes use of, or closes a manufactured storage facility and related transfer systems or employees, but that doesn't really talk about, I mean, I guess even if we make, it just doesn't seem like that would be requiring a permit then. So I don't know if we just need to change that to kind of.
So I was thinking that an unconfined manure storage facility is a type of manure storage facility.
I don't think what we were
Hold on.
looking for, sorry.
We're defining, even if that's not what you intended, what I'm reading is that we're defining an unconfined manure storage facility that we care about to be greater than 175 cubic feet. And then in that paragraph you're talking about, it said if they do anything to alter, change, yada, yada, a manure storage facility, which we've now defined this one as an unconfined manure storage facility, greater than 175 cubic feet, it requires a permit.
Okay, just as long as that's clear, but
I don't think
it's not necessarily clear to me if
I think,
Right.
I think we either take it out or change it to manure stack. I don't think,
But we want to be able to regulate it though.
Or just-
they're regulated actually under, I'm sorry, they're regulated under, if they have a runoff event, then they're regulated by DNR.
Oh, so what you're saying is if it contaminates anything, we have a method to
Through the DNR.
enforce that through the DNR. But we don't require them to have a permit for their stack of manure
No.
in the yard.
You're right.
Only if they cause a problem with it.
Right.
But that doesn't answer his question of having 12 chickens versus 30,000, you know.
But if it's not a constructed facility, that would not be,
But what if someone decides they don't want to construct a facility because then they can get around this ordinance?
Yeah.
And just keep piling it.
That's what you're doing.
Well, because then that's when the DNR stuff kicks in, because they're not gonna.
Because they are creating. This is just regulating the guys that are doing it the right way. They got.
No, we have people that have tried to go and build, just, they constructed could be digging a hole and putting manure in it.
Right.
And that is covered by this ordinance, because they're constructing.
We want them to make sure they do it right. If you're gonna dig a hole and put manure in it, we want it done right.
Correct.
Mr. Carroll.
There are some confined chicken operations in the southern part of the county. And some of those locations are more river.
It's all sand down by me.
Sand.
That's where all the chickens are.
So if you pile and don't create a facility, it's gonna go right into the water table. So there is an issue there that we need to make sure is not happening.
Yeah.
So even if it's a stack, it might still have concern for us. I don't know what they're doing with manure. I'm just saying it could.
What is the standard operating procedure for chicken farms? What do they do with their?
They collect it and they spread it. Or they have they keep the chickens for like 14 days or whatever it is, short period of time.
Yeah.
And then they take everything, they clean everything, fill it out, they sanitize it, and they go back and do it again.
So they put all of that into something and then they spread it on some field somewhere? They don't pile it outside that you're aware of?
That I'm aware of.
But we don't have a regulation or an ordinance.
Right, specifying that they can't do that.
Right.
I mean, if you want, I can I can send out and we have the listserv, send out an email and see what other counties are doing about these,
Spreading manure.
not spreading manure, but the temporary stacking.
Do the chicken farms have to have any kind of plan as about how they spread, or do they have to follow rules on where and when they spread, like cow manure?
No, because most of them they don't fall under our current ordinance. But it's less than the 3,500 cubic feet, and that's what we're trying to get away from.
Yeah, I think we ought to do some more research. We'll come back to it. Okay. Is that okay, everyone, if we take another stab at this? Yeah, I mean, I think we want to make sure and has Mike looked at this, has Corporation Council looked at
Yes.
this? Okay. Okay. Ash Creek Community Forest Management Plan.
$100. Let me write this note because I can't. Sorry about this.
No problem.
I can't talk and think it right at the same time.
It's hard to take notes when you're actually having to answer questions, right?
I did talk to email Todd Kennefick. He was a former forester here, and he's a local guy that, I can check with other, but I just wanted to get a rough idea of what it would be to have somebody finish the plan. And he goes, he charges $400 plus $10 per acre normally. The per hour rate is $65 an acre. And he said, Steve said he would help so that we reduce costs. We currently have $1,648 in the account.
Would it matter that the plan is already half done? As far as how much it would end up total costing, or was he planning on starting from scratch?
I didn't know.
Okay.
That I don't know, but it's.
Read again what he said. How long does he think it usually takes him?
He didn't say, he just said
Okay.
it's normally, Kathy, I charge $400 per acre. $400
And then
plus
plus-
$10 per acre.
And how many acres is that? 360?
350, about 350. So that would be more than money than we have here.
Right.
And this is normal is $65 per acre, by per hour rate is $65 per acre. And we have a little over $1,600 in the account right now.
Mr. Carroll?
Any luck finding an existing plan?
The old one, no.
Was the 90s?
And there's nothing in our files. I've searched and searched and searched. I've emailed, I talked to Julie Van Cleve, who was the forester here, and she said they find nothing in their files. I don't know what happened to it. It was done before I started as a county, I mean, not before I started the county, but before I started as a county con, and I have no idea where the previous one put anything, so I have nothing. I'm sorry. I did look.
So. I read through the notes from last time. are we wanting this plan before we make any decisions about doing a timber cutting?
We need to have, I think, I personally think we need to have a plan, because I don't want to have somebody go, we're gonna cut this, and then we find out, find out that there's some other stuff we should have done, we should be doing while we're doing the cutting. So I want to do it right, because, this is.
Right, but how can we do it right if we don't? So we would need to budget so for the 2025 budget, we would have to budget in doing a forestry management plan?
If we either need a budget in for it, or we need to, wait and let DNR finish it, but we wouldn't be able to have a timber sale until, I would not recommend doing a timber sale until we have the management plan. There's a possibility of some grants, and I need to talk with, there's a school grant, I don't know if that falls under the community forest or not. So I'm gonna do some more searching. He sent this back, I didn't have time to look at it, but.
Go ahead, Julie.
So for this forest management plan, is this something that the county just does and has for our own purposes, or does it have to be sent into the DNR?
Usually DNR gets a copy of it.
So they have our previous one?
No,
I said no.
no, I asked.
Contact them, okay.
It was put in the community forest somewhere between 1990 and 1994 when I started as a county con, and I have no idea where any of that
I just
was.
didn't know if maybe the DNR could,
She looked and she checked and there was nothing on file.
okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Turk?
would it be feasible while we're trying to figure out where we could get the money from to get an actual cost estimate and see what kind of money we'd be looking at?
So you think a more solid bid, an actual bid?
And I've got,
Right.
I went to the consulting forester list on the DNR website. And I've got a list of more local people besides Mr. Kennefic. I mean,
So we could send out a request for proposals and just ask that they let us know about how much they think it would cost. I mean, I would definitely let them know. I mean, Julie is an incredibly good forester. I'm sure the plan that she started is well done, and, it would be helpful in that, because sometimes having someone else's work is not as helpful as you, but I would think that would save them some time.
Sounds like this is something we should have had done a while ago. So if it's a priority and we can figure out how much it costs, perhaps we can work with Administrator Passion, try to identify some funding to get it done.
because it would actually, Mr. Turk, it would actually help us in the long run.
Save money.
Generate
money.
Well, and generate
Generate
money.
money.
Yep.
We can be doing
Yep,
a
exactly.
listing that makes sense and make money.
And be sustainable.
Too, yeah. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and get some quotes to find out exactly.
And I'll talk with, Julie and this Brian. This would be a good way to word the request.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. All right, that brings us to the zoning office report.
So I just wanted to report on what's going on. 17 land use permits were issued in October. 3 of them were new residences. 1 was a residential addition. The rest were either sheds, garages, or shoreland or solar panels. There's been 9 sanitary permits issued, and the non-metallic mine will be going out in the next week or 2. Last year, I think they went out pretty late, so we're gonna try and get them out, get them back for the beginning of the year.
All right. How you doing? Hanging in there as a solo act?
Every day is a new day.
Well, we appreciate that you're hanging in there. And I appreciate that you guys are so willing to help her too. That's important. All right, do we have any public comment? So that brings us to future agenda items. So by my tally, we are going to talk about the temporary ordinance with campers again. We are going to talk about the reorganization again. We still have short-term rentals ordinance to figure out. I was thinking that one I was gonna hit in January. Maybe we can finish that up in January. Anything else that we should have on our?
Next one, maybe talk about winter storage. Did we say-
Oh yeah, I forgot. Did I forget that one? Yep. Manure storage. Yep, there's another
I'm
one.
thinking, by the time we do the request, won't be, make it for the next meeting, so maybe January, the after. I don't think we'll, the time you
That's
send
fine.
stuff out,
That's fine. I mean, in the winter time, it's unlikely we're gonna do it.
Sure.
Yes.
Did the pamphlets for Dark Sky get taken care of? Is that done thing now?
Oh, that's a good question.
we
We
worked.
worked on them with, because we got, so the Wisconsin Land and Water Association was kind enough to let counties get access to a version of Canva, which is a program that helps you make really cool pamphlets and media posts, social media posts and stuff like that. And so we played around with it one day.
Then, yeah.
I'm just asking, it needs to be on our.
Yeah. Yeah, we should, because it actually, we played around with it quite a while, and it looks really good. I don't think there's much more to do. The next question is then, how do we pay for making those pamphlets?
Okay, agendas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I, actually,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an agenda item, but I feel really badly that Mike's emails are maybe sitting there without answers. And how's that working out?
Already fixed, already done.
You are right.
So they're being forwarded
I was
to,
not aware that they were not being forwarded, so.
okay, so now they're being forwarded to Cheryl.
And Cheryl didn't know either.
No, I've been getting phone calls from people mad because nobody's responding and they were, I said, we should be getting a kickback saying you should
This
respond.
person no longer.
They said they checked their junk mail. They said there's nothing.
Interesting.
So that's when I asked Barb to verify that it's going external. I know internal, if you start typing Mike's name, it pops up right on your little.
It
bar.
does, yeah.
But I even sent him a test message and I got no response saying he wasn't in.
Oh, well,
Okay,
he's got it.
Stuff.
all right, cool.
Okay, good.
All right, and then what were we gonna meet in December for?
We were thinking about the reorganization. I'm not saying.
Oh, reorganization, yeah. I mean, I do feel like that needs to,
Long to do that. I didn't know if that
Does.
would be a normal meeting. I'm not saying it has to be that. I just was wondering. And when are we meeting in January? I'm confused with January 1 is,
We're gonna review that because
can I?
well, January, the schedule's the same, so that one
January 2nd would be the second then.
it'd be the 2nd of January.
We're gonna meet on Tuesday.
Is Monday a holiday?
It's January 1.
Okay,
That's why I was wondering, are we meeting on, I just want to know.
We have it down for the second. Is that,
Okay,
is the 2nd a Tuesday? Or Monday?
if January 1 is still a Monday.
Hey, let me look. Let me pull up the calendar. All right.
so that's a holiday.
It's not the second, yeah, the first, yeah. So we'll meet the second.
Okay, that's what I just want to have that on my calendar.
Instead of the 8th. Because sometimes, because that would bump us into
Right,
the county board meeting being an issue.
and that doesn't hit finance or something, or?
Oh, yeah, that would be the first Tuesday. That would be a finance meeting. So there will be a conflict for space, but we could meet down in the other conference room.
Unless you can
Unless
flex
we-
it done by 5. Is finance still meeting at 5?
5:15.
5:15. We could be done.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
Right?
almost, yeah, it's
It's only-
4:30, yeah.
Okay, so the
Okay.
January 2nd, I just wanted to know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, as long as we did that 3 and made sure we were done.
At 5. Yep.
Yep.
That'll be a fun back-to-backer. Happy New Year. All right, anything else? Future agenda items. Brings us to adjournment. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Or say, should we just hang out for a little while longer? All right, I have a motion by Julie, second by Jensen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
So, Melissa, I can send you an email, but I again have a conflict on Monday, and
Okay.
neither my computer or actually. I just want you to know.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. We're good today with people, so.
If anything changes, I'll let you know.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
Is it in?
Yeah.
So it's actually like. How did the, go up? So where you,